sitting there on the stage, and we got done, and literally Prince pulls me to the side, and he kind of grabs me like this, and he puts his hand around me, and he's just, and he's talking in my ear, right? And I'm just sitting there like a kid, and I'm like, I'm about to piss on myself.
Yeah, we gonna take off, man. Yeah.
Man, so it's been a little while since
Yeah, bro.
I've been down to the A.
Yep.
Probably since like before the pandemic, right?
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. So I mean, what you been up to? What's been going on? I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see you. You know, I think of you as a brother. I think of you as family. It's just been. It's something that I feel like our relationship has just continued to build out and continue to just morph over time and continue to get stronger.
Sure.
And I'm glad to be down here back in the A.
It's good to have you back, bro. It's been like too long.
Way too long.
Yeah, I've been good though, bro. Just making records.
So break that down. What you mean making records? What type of records you been making?
You know the norm. You know, records for placement. You know what I'm saying? New indie up and comings. My boy SOS Low. So Slow. We had the record. What's it? Honorable Flex with Trippie Redd. I don't know if you heard it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
But
record's
really
fire.
just, that's been a bulk of the concentration, though. It's really focusing on, kind of, his project and what he's got going and kind of honing his craft and his development. That's been a bulk of it. And we did that in like 3 phases. Atlanta, Miami, New York. Then working with Empire and, getting stuff done for...
So basically, always busy, always moving around, always doing all that, which is, I mean, for me, that was always something that I noticed about you. Just like something that was inspiring to me is like how you move around, how you're always trying to find the next move, how you're always trying to move in a way where you just never really slow down. And I don't think that's a bad thing at times. I think like for some people, they may need it. But for you, I feel like at times you feel like a machine, like you just go. Yeah. But I do see you take those breaks, take that rest time at times. But it's just like for me, that's inspiring to me, as well as just like your production to me is just crazy. Yeah. Like the way that you think about stuff. Like we were just sitting there in the studio just over the weekend, and we were trying to figure out where we wanted to go, how we were going to do it, and all the rest of that stuff. And it's just like the way that you just pick these random sounds, and I'm thinking in my head like, okay, where is this going? Yeah. And then from there, it's like it just starts building and building until eventually, like I'm like, yo, like this is crazy. And the fact that you even hear all that in your head, like I don't hear it. Yeah. So I'm like, yo,
I don't know. I feel like it's I don't know. I just feel like we be building a house. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like different sounds is like to me just like different bricks, or whether we gonna use brick siding or vinyl siding or whatever it may be. That's how sonic palettes. That's kind of how I relate it to. You know what I'm saying? So
you say building a house. Yeah. So like and sonic palettes. So what? Yeah. Like explain that more to me. Like bring me into that world.
So say for example, in building a house, it starts with the foundation. Yeah. Music, there's always a foundation as well. Usually that's melody, drums, the tempo, those are just foundational things, right? Mm-hmm. So once we know what, kind of what the drum pattern is, or, the foundational melodic information, say like piano, then you build upon that, right? And so say like that a lead line may be just like the elevations of your house, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I want my peak of my roof to be like this, and you start adding all the colors, all the little extra stuff you hear, all the different vocals. So for me, it's just like building a house. That don't work. Nah, we don't like them windows. Take that down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Let's try something else. And the same thing with the record process. Like it's like you hear it and you just try it. You feel what I'm saying? If it don't work, it don't work. Yeah. Take it down. Put something else up. Yeah. Until at the end of the day, when you step back, you be like, yeah, this the house. Same shit.
So it's almost like you're taking the concept of building a structure, like a house, like you said, you mentioned like a house and all that. It's almost like you're taking that concept of something that you can fabricate tangibly.
Yeah.
But then you're taking that and then you're bringing it into a world that's intangible because you're hearing it with
and
your
the only
ears.
reason I explain it that way, I feel like that's just a way for the layman or somebody who doesn't do music, an easy way for them to be like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just as far as just the construction part, how the song is built and how we get to where we get to.
Yeah, most definitely.
But no, it's fun. I love it. Just coming in and not knowing.
Yeah.
And having to figure it out.
It's like the uncertainty, like even adds to the whole vibe of like just sitting there trying to figure it out. Just makes it like wow, like it's almost like a mountain to be climbed.
Yeah,
that's how I be feeling sometimes too, especially when we're doing completely new records or going into a completely new direction. And like even with you and I, like we've done quite a few records together, some that are out and some that aren't. Especially like even when I'm thinking about my album, like you did the Swipe record, you did Love in the Trap House,
Go Hard.
You did Go Hard. So it's like, and those records are so different.
Yeah. Shout out to Abe, by the way. He ain't here with us.
For sure.
Partner in crime, brother.
So y'all
Man,
be
genius.
y'all be shutting it down, y'all be killing it, and to me it's just like to know that like people wouldn't think that you and Abe and all the rest of the people that are on your team are creating sounds that span across so many spectrums. Like you would think that was coming from multiple producers or multiple producer camps. So it's just crazy to me when I come here and like I'm seeing all the laptops going, then I'm seeing the main studio, and then I'm seeing like all these different things that are going on, whether it be like things you're doing in TV or things that you're doing like behind the scenes for major artists as well as up and coming artists, and it truly is that AP factor. It's something that all y'all coming together, and that's what makes that happen.
For sure.
And I've seen it in real life. I've seen it in real time, and it's something that makes me just every time I see it, I'm like, wow. It's something that I marvel at when I step into the room. It's amazing.
But I'll say this: to get to that, you just got to be willing to take the risk, though. You know. Because
so break that down.
Because just like you said, most of the times you'll meet a producer or a creative, and once you hear a few of their songs, you kind of know what it is. You kind of know what their style is, kind of know what their thing is. But with us, one day you may hear us doing some trap shit. You may hear us doing some really super R&B. It may be a gospel something. It may be a TV segment. It may just be some sound design on something. Like different. It may be pop, K-pop. But because we work on both sides of the industry, the record side and the live side, we have to deal with lots of artists all across the world, across genres. So over the years, it's forced us to learn new skill, challenge ourselves to hear things different, operate and work within new genres that, as a young boy, depending on where you came from, you're not introduced to. You don't know those styles, right? So just having to work in the industry and being willing, right, to work with different artists across genres, it just opens you up to different sounds, different ways to do things, different styles, different approaches. So yeah.
So I know you mentioned K-pop, and for me, like I'm thinking about just like 10 years ago, somewhere in that spectrum, and I was seeing artists like Taeyong, or artists like G Dragon, and I was seeing that, and I'm like, yo, like these dudes are dope, and I was just seeing it from like just random videos on YouTube and all that. So you just said that's your boy. So were you there, like during the early portions of his career and all that?
We came on towards the end of Big Bang's like hiatus,
Okay.
Like they were super huge. So I think G Dragon, Tay, Top, all of the guys has started at that point, kind of branching off into like solo projects as well.
Yeah.
But when we came in, maybe 8-9 years ago, like they were huge, like stadiums, domes, 60,000 a night.
That's crazy.
Nothing smaller. You know what I'm saying?
And for me, like, okay, so I've done big crowds before, right? Never done a crowd of 30,000 people or anything like that. And I know that you told me before, like, you program and all that. So how do you hear that? Like, how are you sitting on your laptop or sitting in the studio and you have headphones on, right? How do you hear that that's going to sound this way? You get what I'm saying? Because I remember even when you were on the Chris Brown tour and you were doing your thing on there and we met up with you and everything and you were doing something, I think for Brandy, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. Yeah. And you were sitting there on your laptop.
On the bus, yeah.
Recreating something that she was going to be using in a huge stadium or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you hear that?
So I was like, first, it's about understanding the vision of the artist. So as you know, that's why I'm always like, okay, Matt, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
What's the end goal? Because if I understand your vision and kind of what the end goal is, on my end, I can start to formulate and kind of calculate what I need to do to get us to this mountaintop place, right? Okay. That's in your mind, in your soul. So it's really about understanding the vision of the artist. And then once you start trying to execute the vision, then making sure you're communicating with the artist to make sure you're on path. Because we can start off right, but if between the start and the finish line, if we ain't communicating, at some point you running this way, I'm running that way. You feel what I'm saying?
That's facts. It's crazy that you say that because I feel like that happens to all artists sometimes. So it's like, how do you stay on track like that? Whether it be with music or just anything. And that's something that I've been trying to figure out just in general. Sometimes I'm on track. Sometimes I might be a little over here or a little over there. But like, how do you stay on track to make sure you're making it to that end goal with all the experience and all that you've had?
A willingness to be vulnerable. Because you've got to be willing to hear, nah, I don't like it. No, that sucks. No, that ain't it. Almost. And a lot of people aren't willing to accept those criticisms because, one, that means I got to take it away and I got to do something else, right? That's more time.
Yeah.
And honestly, most people don't want to put as much time into your vision as you're willing to put into your vision, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's rare. So that's why I'm always on some, chemistry, the vibe, and the relationship. Because if you get to the point of this, where it feels like brotherhood and family, I'm going to work just as hard as you going to work. You feel what I'm saying? Because we both feel like we in it together. You know what I'm saying? Not like, oh yeah, he the artist, I'm gonna just do this record for him, or whatever it may be. Or say, like you said, Brandy or anybody preparing for some big performance they're doing or whatever that may be. It's their thing, right? And so for most people, the motivation is the money. For me, money ain't ever been my motivation. I really love music to the core of me, and I really believe in excellence. So I want to be excellent. I want to represent myself well every time. So as dope as Brandy, Matt B, or anybody else want to be, Chris want to be in their own light, I want to be just as dope providing a service for them and helping them see their vision come to fruition. Yeah.
So there are a lot of moving elements that I think about, because I even think back to when I was doing the Magnificent Mile Lights Parade, right? And I hit you up like, yo, AP, these people, they want me to do this parade, and I'm not sure exactly how to go about putting all this together and all that. And I feel like you really helped to guide me through that, which was just greatly appreciated. And there were things that you did in the moment that I didn't quite understand until I saw it translate on TV. Not just on TV, though. Not just on TV. But I saw it not just translate there, but also I saw it translate when I was there physically, live, at the parade in front of all those tens of thousands of people. And I'm sitting there thinking in my head, it finally clicked, like,
this is why.
And I'm just, so I'm wondering, like.
So what was that moment? What was the moment? What was the moment?
For me, what was the moment?
Yeah, what was the moment?
Okay, so you want me to paint a picture of this?
Yeah.
Okay, look. So I'm on the float, right? I'm on the Walgreens float. I can feel it as I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I feel I see the float moving into what they call the TV zone. Right? Then they hand me a microphone, and they say, we're going to cue you in. And then once we cue you in, then you can start singing. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm taking deep breaths like, oh, man, please don't let me
Right. Because it can't go around the block again. Right. Turn, back it up.
So then the music starts.
Yeah.
And once the music starts, like, okay, and then that's when kind of, I think as for me anyway, but I think for most artists, all the nerves and all of the, it just kind of just dissipates. Whew, it just almost gets sucked out of you. So then I start singing. And as I'm starting to sing and I'm hearing the way that the record is being translated, like, into the audience, because there are thousands of people there. And how it's sonically being translated into the audience, it was crazy. Like, it sounded full, it sounded live, it sounded open. And you would have almost thought there was a band behind me. It was crazy. Then from okay, now let's go to when I saw it on TV. Because now, you know, all that happened and then they air it. So when they aired it, I'm looking at it, and I don't know what you did to that record, but it's like almost like it was two different. How do I even explain this? It sounded live in person, but on TV, it sounded different, but it still sounded good. You get what I'm saying? I don't even know if I'm explaining that right.
Nice and controlled, and yeah.
That's crazy. Like how did you see that? Because for me, when I did it, I saw it one way, but then when I saw it translate live, and then in turn saw it translate on TV, I'm like, yo, like it's like you saw that from the beginning.
It's experience. I've done years of live stage, but also television stage. So I've done Kimmel, SNL many times, Kimmel many times, Jay Leno, what's the other one? I used to be in New York. He's gone now. David Letterman, Letterman, all the shows. But Ellen, but there's a sonic standard everywhere. Right? And when it comes to broadcast, things need to translate a certain way, right? There needs to be an openness so there's not a cloudiness on the other side of the TV.
You get what? Actually, I couldn't even explain it that way. Yeah. That's kind of what I mean. Because sometimes it'll sound one way in person, and it's like, wow, that sounds amazing. Then when you put it on the TV, like you said, there's a cloudiness there. Yeah, like what happened?
Yeah.
And that wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was almost like... I can't even put words. It was like perfection.
Yeah.
That's insane, man. Yeah. Like, I couldn't see that.
But it's just experience. Knowing what to do and what not to do for broadcast.
So break that down. What does that look like? What do you mean by what to do and what not to do?
So say for example, there's a few broadcast rules. If you would mix a record a certain way just for radio, or say for a performance. If you doing broadcast, or if it's just a 2-track and the artist, that vocal needs to sit on top, you kind of have a 2 to 3 dB play where you want that vocal to just sit a little more on top than average. So when it comes out, there's no cloudiness in between the vocal, which people need to hear, but then also the musical composition that supports the vocal, right? And if you approach it from composition supporting the vocal, you're always going to be good.
Okay.
But it's a mixed thing too, though. The mix has to be great as well, though.
Okay, so break that aspect down then. Because the technical skills that I see that you possess, like when you're not here... and there's someone else, man, in my session or whatever. I'm not saying they don't know what they're doing.
Right. But it's
there
different.
Clearly is a difference. So break that down. Like, what is the technical skill behind, like, you mentioned the vocal, but what about, like, the musicality of it? Where does that fit in?
I just think, because we can talk about this for, like, hours and hours, but I feel like the difference is experience, speed, but then communication, right? So there are things, and I'm sure you can attest to this, there are things that we communicate to each other without having to communicate it to each other. Yeah. We can just kind of move. You're like, oh, no, and you know what that means. Yeah. That means, okay, either I'm going to do it again, didn't like it, but in the moment, because we're constantly communicating, there's always eye contact, at some point, you know what it means.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be a sentence,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that, for example, that cuts down time. But then as an engineer, your willingness to listen, right?
Yeah.
We all got ears, but your willingness to listen and to listen with detail and purpose and with the artist's vision always in mind allows you to get to where you need to get much quicker, right? Without both of us feel like we're experimenting. Or you feel like, as an artist, I'm rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Every hour I sit in the studio because I don't know what the fuck I'm going to get, you know?
Right.
I mean, I hope it come out all right, you know. You alleviate that stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's why most artists, when they find that person that they can communicate with that way, you know, that's their guy, you know. That's why most artists be like, hey, I got my own engineer. No matter where they go, you know, because it's just about a work process and just you as the artist and the creative about you being comfortable in your process and that not being a hindrance in the whole process. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But technically, I mean, we could talk for weeks about technical stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to listen. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not listening to you, if I don't have your vision in mind or what you want, or at least have an understanding, I don't care how technically sound I am. I'm just fishing. Like I'm just doing stuff.
And it's funny that you say that because when I was talking to Angela, we were having that a very similar conversation where, because I've worked with a lot of different producers and done a lot of different things with this guy here and that guy there and all that stuff. But when I work with you, it's like the vibe is always right. And that was one of the things that I pinpointed when I was talking to her. I was like, you know, when I think about when I work with AP, it's like he actually listens to what the heck I'm saying. Like it's not like it goes through one ear and right out of the other. And you might not always do it. But you listen and you're like, okay, well, let's explore it or whatever, and we might break it down. And then from there, it's like, oh, I don't really think that's going to work. And then we move on. Or it might be, okay, oh, man, that shit is fucking dope. And then from there, we keep it, and then we just keep moving forward. So I feel like I agree with you. And that just makes all the difference in the world because it allows the workflow to just go a lot better. Like I'm even thinking we just did a session. Like that's why we're sitting here right now because we just did a session. We knocked out 2 records and what I feel like is just record timing because we did a whole record in like 45 minutes, maybe somewhere around that. So to vocal track that fast, it's like you know that there has to be something there. There has to be a good workflow there because otherwise, you know, most records, you know, they could take anywhere from
day, 2 days, a week, you know. Cut it today, get back to it next week, another week. It could go on and on.
And even like I'm even thinking about like vocal production and all that because you're around the board and that's something that I noticed about you and that I really like is that it's a one-stop shop. Like you go from the production and it's like, okay, but you in my studio and then now I'm going to produce this in my studio and then, oh, by the way, not only am I going to do that, but then, you know, you throwing out lyric ideas and all that. Well, okay, shit. He over here songwriting too. And then turn around and okay, well, now let's actually track this record. And then from there, it's like, all right, well, who's going to vocal produce me?
Get the vocal producer.
Me. Like, you know, so it's like you switching so many hats, and I think that's so dope. And as an artist who also wears who also wears a lot of hats, it's like I respect that. It's something that I aspire to continue to be. And seeing you just move about and be able to take those hats off effortlessly and put on another one is like, what even made you get to that point? Was it out of an act of necessity? Or was it something that you just really wanted to do?
I love everything about music. So I started my musical journey playing drums since the age of 7. Started my professional career touring with Aaliyah. So that's how it all started, 96. Youngest boy out there just on tour playing drums, but I loved everything about music, right? So before that, I was a session drummer really young. So I would go all over the country playing drums on different people's records. But I was always a sponge, right? Always played my role. If there were important, unimportant, but just good people in the room, I was always watching to try to learn, right? To just to get that vibe. Like, what is it about him that allows him or her to get session work, be in this studio with this person, work for this A&R, work for this label, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? So I've always just been a studier of one of people, but then of what they did as well. So after years of, just being around and studying and trying, I would kind of dabble and be like, okay, cool, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to learn this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I went from drums to programming to, I was working with this artist on Sony 550, Taja Seville, my good friend to this day. And she was like, I'm doing my new album, but I want y'all to work on the album with me.
Mm.
So it really made me and my little bro Sean, it really made us like kind of put on that hat before we was ready to put on the hat. And I don't even know if I could say we wasn't ready, but I mean, we were young,
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of forced us to just really get into the producer bag and really understand it. But it was really cool because we had been around great people too, being in New York and being at Sony. So we was around, great producers. Taj always introduced us as young men to like great men who are already in the business, who are making huge records, who were super successful. And, a lot of people dropped a lot of gems in our life. I'll never forget, we were in Minneapolis. We went to Prince's spot, to Paisley Park. And he was having his like annual, this thing he used to do at Paisley where people from all over the world, you could buy tickets to come to Paisley. And
Oh,
he
that's
did
fire.
this concert and this whole like party kind of like experience. But I never forget, we did the performance and we did all these arrangements. I programmed the thing, just kind of showcase some of the new records. And literally we were sitting there on the stage and we got done, and literally Prince pulls me to the side and he kind of grabs me like this and he puts his hand around me and he's just and he's talking in my ear. Right, and I'm just sitting there like a kid, and I'm like, I'm about to piss on myself, like, I'm like,
Oh my God,
this is Prince, like, and he's just giving me gems. He was like, all right, now, this was really good. Next time you do this, don't do this, never do this, blah 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 blah. And he just really dropped so many gems in me in that moment. But it was so surreal, and it was so. It grounded me so too though, because to have, because at that point I had worked with 12 and Genuine for years, Aaliyah, Jagged, all the little groups of that heyday,
Yeah.
So I felt, I had some experience. I'd been around, but I'd always seen all these great creators who was definitely not on the level of Prince.
Yeah.
Who had all this ego.
Yeah.
Was never willing to share nothing. It was always, look at me, I got this. Oh yeah, you just a drummer. Oh you produce. Oh yeah, whatever. You play drum. It was always the dismiss. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with this icon, this man I so looked up to musically, like he embraced all of us, and he embraced me, and he cared enough to pull me to the side, not knowing me. You feel what I'm saying? Outside of knowing my talent and being there with Taj, that whole thing. The fact that he was willing, to pull me to the side, to impart some wisdom into me as a young man.
I mean, that's
it
amazing.
changed everything, bro.
That's amazing.
It changed everything, because what I'd seen prior to that was, it was all ego. It was like, you become a star to be an asshole.
Yeah.
And he showed me the polar opposite. He was like, oh yeah, and Larry Graham here too. Yeah, we just came from, we just did a pilgrimage and, studying the Bible in Jerusalem. And I'm like, where Larry Graham? He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna introduce you to Larry.
That's
and
crazy.
He was like, oh yeah, Larry, this is AP, he's a young talented guy, blah blah. And it just blew my mind. And that was a part, that's just one of the things that kind of changed kind of my perspective on this whole music thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's goodness out there, and it's goodness that's great as well. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Sometimes people feel like, when you introduce to greatness, or I say, or you introduce to goodness, that person is usually in a place where they need, or you know, God, you know, I'm doing the right thing, God. But you know, it's not usually the person who's on top of the mountain who's got all this goodness in them. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
to have that experience, it was the shift. It was part of the shift.
I mean, that's amazing. So do you feel like that brought you to where you are today? Where, because I see that in you. Like, even when I first walked through your door, I felt that energy and I felt that vibe from you. I felt like you weren't, especially as our relationship grew, you weren't just a brother to me, but you're also a mentor to me. And I feel like a lot of times you are kind of pulling me to the side and kind of like, yo, and putting me on game and guiding me and all that. So it's like, is that something that you strive for? And was that the moment that made you just be like, yo, is that the light bulb that clicked, that was the purpose of why you were doing what you were doing, or why you were moving the way that you were moving?
Yeah, I think that was one of.
Okay.
You know, I think that was one of, you know, I almost died, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you know my train accident story.
Break it down for me.
Yeah.
Because I heard little bits and pieces here and there, but I mean, if you want to share it,
so
break it down.
95.
Okay.
Young kid, you know, leaving my girlfriend's house, and you know, with my cousin and my homegirl Tina, you know, going home, you know, about to cross some tracks with the rest of everybody else, and this one spot of tracks, you know, it didn't have the little bars, but the lights malfunctioned, so everybody's just going across the tracks, and literally, as we're going across the tracks, I hear, but it's really loud. Right, and I remember turning, looking to the right, and being like, "Oh my God, I hope no." And when I said I hope no, it was like, whoa, freight train. Hell yeah, they literally drug us 1 point something miles down the track. Right. Long story short, almost dying, emergency surgery, no anesthesia, chest tube, the whole nine, no time for pain, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Spent weeks in the hospital, in ICU, rehabbing at the house, and I never forget. I was like, cause I always loved music, you know. So I was like, you know, God, I'll never forget it. I was like, man, God, if you just allow me to, you know, play drums again, or you know, allow me to be creative again, you know, I promise you, I'll just give you glory in everything I do from this day forth. Not as if I didn't before, but I just felt a newness, right? A desire to do better. And I never forget, literally, still broken, because I broke my collarbone, ribs broken, punctured my lung. I literally had been on meds for, like, my brother, like, literally had to give me meds. Like, he feed me meds every day, steroids, just kind of come back.
Yeah.
And it got crazy, like, I never forget. And that day, and I was like, man, God, if you just allow me to do it again. I was just tired, because my drums are still set up in the other room.
Yeah.
I never forget, I sat down on the drums, still broken, and started playing, right? And mind you, and I probably played, I don't even remember how long, but it had to be 5-10 minutes. But mind you, I'm in pain, I'm crying, but I'm playing. And I'm just like talking to God at the same time, like,
wow,
man, God, if you just let me do it and continue to do this, like, I promise you, I'll give you the glory forever and ever. So from there, that was another moment in life that kind of moved me to this love thing, because for me it's just about a vibe. It's about a vibe. It's about great energy. It's about love. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not about ego.
Yeah.
I don't care about names I've ever worked with. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just really about the end result. Like, what are we doing? Like, is the project going anywhere? Like, is it gonna allow me to reach anyone? You know, to the point where if I say something, you know what I'm saying, somebody will be like, okay, dang, okay, cool. I ain't got to go through that too. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could share kind of some of my struggles in music and kind of share some of my testimony, you know, just about life, period, to kind of help somebody not have to kind of hit some of them walls, you know what I'm saying, have to jump some of them hurdles. I had to, not having the example, you know what I'm saying? Because when I was coming up, it was hard to get in the studio. Only way you got in the studio if you was working on that job. Like, it was no going to hang out. Like, nobody's making music at their house. Not for real.
Yeah.
You know? So it was a multitude of things that kind of just broke me down, just as a person, to where it was bigger than just the music, you know?
Well, the fact that you survived being hit by a freight train, bro. A freight train?
Freight train. Yeah.
Man, you know you were covered by God.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's purpose. Like there's some purpose that's bigger than us all. You know what I'm saying? When you can survive that.
Wow. Cause
literally, bro. I mean, months later, my aunt, I was like, yo, I want to see the car. She was like, you want to see the car? She was like, you ain't gonna believe you was in this car, bro. We went out to this junkyard, bro, to see this car. I don't know how we survived.
Wow.
Like literally, the car twisted, mangled.
How'd they get you out?
Bro, that's the crazy part. They had to use jaws of life. They got my cousin out and my homegirl out. And I was in the back. And you remember it was a 280Z sports car.
Mm-hmm.
Saved us too because the car was still made of metal, right? Mm. So, we wait all of this time in the middle of the woods, black, the conductor of the train, he out there. So we waiting on the ambulance, emergency services. They get there, and mind you, I'm going in and out of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to die in the woods. And literally, at that, I remember coming to and being like, and then it's like, oh, they down here. And I hearing, they down here. So mind you, I'm bleeding everywhere. My ribs is broke. My collarbone broke. Ugh. I got internal bleeding. I'm bleeding internally. So I really can't say nothing. Bro, they get my cousin. He was driving. They get my cousin, and they get Tina out. But they don't see me in the car. They only see me in the back. So mine is a hatchback, and it might have been the car's all mangled. So it might have been a little gap big enough just to get my body across the back seat.
Wow. In
the fall, mine is broken glass. The whole hatch is broken, and all the glass is in the back. Mm-hmm. So literally, I'm like, man, they don't see me. They leaving, bro, and I'm still in the car. They leaving, so I literally pull myself and I'm broke, collarbone broke. So imagine doing this with a broke collarbone, right?
Oh my God!
So I'm doing like this, and literally I lift myself up and push myself over the back seat to fall in the hatch. So I fall back in the hatch on top of the glass, and it rocks the car. And I remember the fireman saying, "Oh, we got one more. It's another one. Wow! And then they come back and get me out, pull me out the hatch, get in the ambulance. Cut everything off me. Like, yeah, you can't go to sleep. Because you go to sleep, you're going to die.
Man.
Yeah. So that's like.
So do you feel like someone lifted you? Do you feel like God gave you the strength?
Definitely God gave me the strength. Because no way I could. I mean, come on. Internal bleeding, broken ribs, and a broken collarbone. Come on now.
God, that's a miracle you even survived.
Facts. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like moments. It's like real life moments that get people to, and it's just me, that gets people to
kind of open their eyes and
where they'll either open their eyes or close them. Because for some people, it could be a bad moment in life that makes them go the other way. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about, our moments and kind of what we do with those moments or how we allow those moments to impact us negatively or positively. Mm-hmm. So it's all perspective and kind of how we choose, to kind of see things.
That's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to segue because I know you mentioned like Prince and first of all, that story is amazing because I never met Prince. I never, unfortunately, will ever have the opportunity of meeting Prince. But you even saying that, like, it's almost like I can feel his energy through you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's super dope. And I want to segue to, you said that even though he was at the top of the mountain, that there was still a level of humbleness in him that was just something that you personally were like, yo, like, this is like out of the ordinary.
Like, bro, literally, like, he's mountaintop when it comes to artists, especially black artists. He mountaintop. Like, he's the epitome. Like, it's him and Michael Jackson.
So why do we act that way then? Like, us as artists or us in the industry, not just black people, just artists in general.
Insecurity.
Why do we act that? You think that's why?
Mm-hmm. Insecurity.
Insecurity about what though?
Who you are, your talent, why you're there, why you're not where somebody else is. I feel like so many of us, we're so distracted by somebody else's journey until we devalue our own journey because we don't feel like I'm in the place they are. Or we spend so much time saying to ourselves, oh yeah, I want that. Oh yeah, I want what they got. But you don't even understand how they got it.
Yeah.
What they had to go through to get to that place, right? Most of us we want the finish line, but we don't want that journey and the fight, the grit to get to the finish line. You don't want to go through the training. You don't want to go through all those things to be the great athlete to get there. Insecurity, 1. Pride, 2. The state of our industry, 3. It's a lot. And
what do you mean
what
by
I mean
that?
by that?
Yeah.
It's a lot of amazing artists that I've known a long time when they were new budding artists to still knowing them now where they're on top. Seeing the humble person they were to when they get to the mountaintop after everybody said, oh, you're great. Oh, whatever you need. I feel like we all need balance. We all need no. Yeah. We all need no. That's some stupid shit. We all need that. But when you get in a place where no is not a part of your world anymore, that's not appropriate. Isn't a part of your world anymore. You could do that a better way. That's not a part of your world anymore. You go on this godly type trip, right? And you feel like you're bigger than everything. And I feel like, and it's the artists, and I feel like it's managers and label reps issue as well, because I feel like a lot of times the managers and the label reps put these artists in a mental ecosystem to where they feel like they're untouchable. I'm this glass bottle that just sits up here that's fragile that nobody can touch. Prime example. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers who've ever been a part of the music industry could probably relate, right? Usually as a worker in the industry, they tell you, oh yeah, don't talk to the artist. Don't talk to the artist. I'm working with the artist. How am I supposed to get my work done and not communicate with the artist? Yeah. Oh yeah, just talk to me. Right?
What?
So at some point, if that's your ecosystem as an artist, what do you start doing? You do 2 things. Either you feel like nobody really likes me, right? Yeah. But you don't know that your manager's telling people don't talk to you, right? Yeah. Or you feel like you're fucking better than everybody else, right? You have all of these people who are making your thing great. Yeah. But because you and your representation have put you on fucking cloud 39, you feel, right. You feel like you in the clouds and everybody's down here. And prime example of the Prince thing. He was
on cloud 1 billion.
You feel what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
But yet, he still kept his foot to the ground. You feel what I'm saying? He was still touchable. He was still human enough to say, you know what? You remind me of me. I remember being a young boy. Here's something I can share with you. Bro, that's so rare. Yeah. I could name you. I won't do it because I want to make nobody mad. But I've had great artists I work with, and I'll name it for Aaliyah. She was the first. Okay. Amazing. Her family was amazing.
So let's talk about that just briefly, because we know like Aaliyah, they just recently just put her stuff on DSPs. Yep. So let's break down, how did you feel about the fact that they put her stuff on DSPs, and also just let's just talk about Aaliyah just for a second.
I mean, I was happy. I feel like people should be able to experience her art. Yeah. Her music. And it's been missing. You know, she was I hope who she is, I hope that story gets told as well, and not just, you know, some records being played, because I feel like it's a bigger story in her story and just who she is, period.
So who she is, what version of that did you see?
Family.
Okay.
It was all about family, you know. It's her brother. Mama and daddy was right there. Like, her dad was like one of my first like mentors.
Oh wow.
In the music business, because mind you, when I started touring with her, I was 19 years old, right? 18, 19. So, and it was my first job. Yeah. I'm a young boy from Columbia, South Carolina, right?
And that's insane that was your first.
You feel what I'm saying? But
How was
literally,
that your first job?
but Mike was the same way. He'd be
That's
like,
crazy.
I'm going over here to get some food. Come ride with me. You know what I'm saying? When like the rest of the band and everybody else would be back at rehearsal, he'd be like, come ride with me, and he would just drop so many gems on me until like, you know, and I guess he could see who I wanted to be and kind of where I wanted to go, and we had them conversations, right, as well. But I feel like for all of us, just having people who are just willing to impart wisdom into us and just being willing, right, to take that wisdom and apply it is the thing that kind of allows us to be more open, right, and to grow, right? It's just taking information and growing. But she was family, bro. She was super cool. She was family. Like, we did everything together.
Wow.
Like, it was never, it's me and then them.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
it was us, basically.
It felt like it was us, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah. And who else? T-Pain. Great friend of mine. Same way. He's like one of my all-time favorite artists to ever work with me. To work with. Like, Pain could call me any day, and I'd be like, I'm on the way. Cause he's
his impact on the industry was insane.
But he the same. I feel like for most people I click with is they about family. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People who are rooted same way with you. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, most definitely.
You about family. You feel what I'm saying?
100%.
Family first. You feel what I'm saying? So I feel like there's always been a like-mindedness just across genres, across borders, across waters, with artists I've ever worked with or collaborated with, and it was always that. You know, the artists to some level, they was about family. They was about their team and making sure, you know, we're all good. You know, the team's good. Yeah.
Man, I mean, that is insane. I mean, the stories that you're telling right now and the insight that you're giving, I mean, I feel like every time I come here, you're telling me something new and giving me a new perspective of how to think about things, how to go about doing things. But at the root of it, it's always the same thing: to remain humble, to put your family first, to have that work ethic, and to really just, if you want it, you gotta work for it. You can't expect for people to just give it to you. And I feel like when we're in these sessions, when we're working with one another, like, even when I feel like I can't do it or I can't quite do what you're asking me to do, is like, I can tell just from the way that you're being patient with me and from the way that you're pushing me that you see more in me than what I'm currently giving at the time. And you gracefully pull it out of me instead of forcefully pulling it out of me. That would make me feel some type of way potentially, or make me feel like I was being... You never make me feel small. You always make me feel encouraged. Like, you can do this. You just have to either lock in and just do this. You know what I'm saying? So it more so feels like someone who's patting me on the back and giving me that gentle nudge, more so than someone nigga. Really?
Right.
And
you tapping out on it. Yeah. Like, all right, I've had enough of this.
right. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I just want to say, like, I appreciate that, honestly. And I always have appreciated that from you when you do that for me. And I know that you do that for other people too. And I think that everyone just appreciates just your vibe and how you've been moving in this industry, and how you have been under the, like, sort of the each one teach one sort of act. And I see, like, some of the initiatives that you've been taking and all the rest of that stuff, and it's truly inspirational. It's inspirational because, as artists or as creatives and all that, you have to find your reason, you have to find your purpose, and sometimes that purpose and that reason changes with time. But I've seen, even in the time frame that we've known one another, I've seen that change, and I've seen that in you. But I always see that you still manage to find a way to reignite that passion, even though you've been in the industry for a decent amount of time. It's like
25.
That's amazing. Amazing.
But I'll say this: it's because of you, artists like you, that keep me inspired. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Because, I mean, without that, you just be like, what am I doing here? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, just the challenge of something new. you know, that's why I be wanting you to be like, yo, okay, what's the vision? Like what you thinking? What's on your mind?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. I got to run this race with Mac.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's always a team approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being the artist, you're the team captain, right?
Yeah.
And you may be hiring me to I'm gonna come in and play guy. I'm a running back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you may say, cool, I need you to be quarterback on this, right?
Yeah.
But still, that's a role, right?
Yeah.
Running back, quarterback, it's a role, right? So.
Right.
I feel like I'm just signing up to be on the team, right? And me asking and listening to you as the coach and the instructor, I'm like, okay, cool. I got to see Matt's vision come to fruition because that's the goal, right? Mm-hmm. It's about seeing the vision come all the way to fruition. So that keeps me excited, bro. Like, it keeps me wanting to show up at the studio. It makes me want to say, yeah, Angie, let's do it. When? What's the dates? Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, cool. Because that's the only way we all grow. I feel like once we stop doing that and we become stagnant, growth stops. And when we stop growing, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
And the fact that you're basically like an owner of a team that still plays on the field.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that to me, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's no better way of doing it. And at a point in time when I grow to that level, I hope and I pray that because of some of the wisdom that you have bestowed upon me and some of the wisdom that I've gotten from other people here and there, that I'm able to reciprocate all that others have poured into me. And I just want to say to you, bro, thank you so much for sitting down and chopping it up. I appreciate that.
Bro. Come on,
and,
bro.
you know, we family. We going to keep it that way. And it's nothing but love. Nothing but love.
Love you, boy.
Yeah, love you too.